Hosie, welcome to you. You are the third largest party now at Westminster. What is the status of meetings with the government? Is there something that's actually been fixed?
I don't think it's fixed yet, but there'll have to be Scottish to UK government meetings. Nicola's signalled that has to happen, and I think it would be helpful if it happened as quickly as possible.
I mean, she of course was here today, but unlike you, she's not an MP. Is that going to be difficult? I mean, just organisationally, because you will have to take decisions down here without being able to refer back to it.
Oh, absolutely. But, Angus Robertson is the group leader down here, incredibly experienced. I'm the deputy leader of both the party and the Westminster group. The contact and liaison is fantastic, so no, that won't offer any hindrance at all.
What does it mean being the third largest party?
Well, it means a number of things. There are rights and responsibilities. So, for example, places on select committees, perhaps the chairmanship of committees, the ability to hold ministers to account with questions at every departmental question called earlier in statements and urgent questions. The whole range of ways in which parties hold the government to account are now in place.
And that will mean participating every week prominently in Prime Minister's questions?
Absolutely right. 2 questions every week we expect, and that makes a big difference as well in terms of the key issues of the day, our position being made clear and the proper questions being put to the Prime Minister.
Now, you obviously are an old hand, so is Angus Robertson, your leader here, so is Alex Salmond and a number of your MPs, but the majority of them are real newcomers to this.
Except they bring huge experience. People from finance, people who've worked for the World Bank, a consultant oncologist, an international QC. Yeah. There's huge experience in that group, and I'm struggling to see a weak link at all.
No, I'm not saying they're not qualified people, but you know, Parliament is still Parliament, and I just wonder when they said, well, we're going to come here and we're going to stop austerity and we're going to make the voice of Scotland be heard, whether they're in for a nasty shock in the sense that, you know, you are only 55 out of 650 MPs.
I suppose if one was being cynical, you could say that the same limitations apply to every single MP, every party, except for the 3 or 4 at the very heart of government. But as you know, governments do listen. They're forced to listen. And I think this government have a particular problem in relation to the SNP. 56 out of 59 MPs, half the vote, a very clear mandate indeed to speak up on behalf of the people of Scotland for the policies in our manifesto.
Yeah, nobody denies you've got a right to speak out. It's a question whether you can make any difference.
Well, indeed, I think the government, this Tory government, would be foolish if they were to brush this away and think it was mere bagatelle, that there's nothing we can do technically, therefore they won't respond. I think that would be tactically and strategically very, very foolish from David Cameron.
Do you think it would be a good idea, as Lord Lawson was just saying to me, to have a convention about looking again at the powers within the UK? Obviously the SNP has an ultimate different aim, but
well, you know, there is merit in that, because clearly there has to be some form of recognition and devolution for or to England. Clearly in Wales there's a demand for more powers and so on and so forth, but that cannot be allowed to stop further powers coming to Scotland, and that is powers north of the Smith Commission, which were watered down before the election and are frankly very modest and not adequate to do the job we need.
I mean, the key one is obviously this one of fiscal autonomy.
Sure.
Is that something that you would like in short order?
Well, in short order that's difficult because it's complicated and there would be a lead time to deliver that. So what we've said is yes, we want that, but in the meanwhile we need the powers to grow the economy, create jobs and make society fairer. Business taxes, welfare, there's a package which we put together in terms of priorities in the manifesto. There's no reason why that cannot be devolved while the other stuff is in process and perhaps a convention looking at powers throughout the UK starts work.
And what are you hearing back from what is now the Conservative majority government about those proposals?
Well, we've only been here for kind of 6 hours.
Yeah.
Let's get the new members inducted, the swearing in next week. We have the Queen's speech the following week. At that point, I think things will begin to crystallise. Are they prepared to play ball and understand the new reality? Or is it going to be business as usual from their point of view, which I suspect will be met with huge resistance from our new members?
I mean, is there a sort of ultimate threat that, to a certain extent, if you don't feel you're being listened to, you could procedurally stuff up Parliament?
Well, you know, we all know there are ways to make life complicated and difficult for a government with a very small majority. But we're not here to be disruptive. What we're saying is we have a substantial mandate. What we asked for in the manifesto, which the public in Scotland voted for, was very clear. So let's get a good positive response from the government and see if we can't move forward in a sensible way. If they decide to say, no, enough's enough, no more powers, then of course we look at all the tactics any opposition party can deploy.
Mr Hosie, thank you very much.
Thank you.